Right, we're recording. I like the creamy head that it has.
Thank you.
Really nice head. All right. All right, let's go. Fran, empezamos. I'm going to do like a first the intro in Spanish and then we'll switch to English. Okay. Saludo y bienvenido a todos los coñistas y coño escuchas que decidieron darle play a otro. I messed up. Let's start again. I messed up. Ya llegó el Coño Show, el Coño Show. Ya llegó el Coño Show, el Coño Show, el Coño Show, el Coño Show. ¡Wow! Saludos y bienvenido a todos los coñistas y coño escuchas que decidieron darle play bien duro a otro episodio del podcast más tecato del futuro, Coño el Show. Mi nombre es Carlos Ortiz, custodio de LecheCoco Productions, y me acompaña el símbolo sexual sexy de LecheCoco Productions, Frank the Tank. Y hoy tenemos unos invitados bien especiales porque de seguro por los últimos, qué sé yo, como mes y medio, 2 meses, tienen que haber visto por ahí esta cerveza dando las rondas, ¿verdad? El Velorio, probablemente mucha gente aquí la ha probado ya. Es una cerveza de Second Self Brewing en Atlanta, en colaboración con un restaurante de comida puertorriqueña que se llama My Abuela's Food. Y desde que vi la cerveza y vi el arte y la probé, yo dije, yo tengo que saber la historia detrás de esta beer, porque esto es de nosotros, o sea, esto tiene que ver con nosotros, con Puerto Rico. So, para eso tengo 2 invitados bien especiales aquí. Tengo uno de los codueños y cofundadores de Second Self Brewing, the beer architect from Second Self Brewing, Jason Santamaria. And we also have here Luis Martínez from My Abuela's Food. So guys, welcome and thank you for being here. Really appreciate you guys agreeing to do this.
Oh, thank you so much for having us.
So I wanted to, in order to get the story behind the beer, I guess we got to start by the story behind you guys. Like, where did you guys come from? Like, where did you grow up? And what's your heritage.com?
Yeah.
Do you want to start, Jason?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm born and raised from Atlanta. Culturally, my dad was born in Cuba. His whole family was born in Cuba. My mom was a Georgia girl, so I had a very diverse growing up. So we had, huge pig roast for Christmas with my dad, and then we'd have a very different Christmas with my mom's side. But both those cultures are pretty instilled. And it's actually today I wrapped up a cookbook I've been working on for 10 years for both sides, because for us, no one wrote down any recipes, and cooking's been huge for both sides of our family. My grandfather, came here and had restaurant or worked in restaurants. Eventually, opened a restaurant in Atlanta, and that's how that became home for my family. And so cooking was a huge part of my life. I was a little kid running around my grandfather's restaurant. It was an Italian restaurant, which is funny. We have a framed article from the Birmingham, Alabama Times that's real Italians cooking real Italian food, but they're all speaking Spanish in the back, but they didn't know that it was actually Spanish. So it's just fun. But I grew up with that. I got into beer, like most people, in college, and got into craft beer. It was dark beers is where what turned me on to beers, because everything else was just like a light lager, like a Bud Light or something. So it never really interested me. And so I put myself through college. I had a catering company, so I had my own company then. and brewing beer is an extension of all of these passions in one. And so you're able to create, you're able to, it's a combination of cooking and baking and taste and all sorts of things. And that's the short story of how I got into brewing. So we'll kind of start up there, I guess.
And what about you, Luis?
I grew up I was born in Puerto Rico. I was born in Riviera, Puerto Rico. And then my family moved to Georgia in 1996 when the Olympics were happening. And then the rest of my family kind of moved back to Puerto Rico throughout the years. So it's just my sister and I that live in Georgia. The rest of my family lives in between Juanadilla, Humacao, Guaynabo. Familia tengo en Guayama y cosas así, pero
all over the island.
All over the island. My work background, man, I can't even really go it. I mean, I've done so many things, right? But the one thing that I've always done is I gather people and I feed them. Even when I had other jobs, even when I had other things, I've always loved gatherings and feeding them or connecting them via a beer or a drink. And I think that is something that we as Puerto Rican people do when we are born. We start welcoming people in our lives just to sit and drink and eat. And that's what my Abuela is about. It's what my grandmothers taught me, not only from cooking, but from opening the doors for all my friends that have traveled to Puerto Rico, to all my family that brings their friends. And, they could just go through my grandma's house and they spend the day, they can spend the week. It doesn't matter. They're just part of the family. So my Abuela's is como una fonda puertorriqueña in Atlanta. We started as a pop-up. So I was working corporate. Then we would take over restaurants. And then last November, we had the opportunity to open a restaurant. So we opened February 29th, 17 days before the pandemic. And we're still here. And that's kind of a brief like mix of who I am.
So are you the one who does the cooking?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. And Jason, what you studied and your major in college, did it have anything to do with what you're doing right now with the beer, with brewing, or?
Not really. So I went to an engineering school, but I ended up with a business degree. So I kind of did a little bit of both. By studying, I drank a lot of beer. So, I learned a lot that way, but no, I didn't. I used the business school, to run the business. Yeah.
Do you remember like a specific beer that turned you into the craft beer scene or into brewing?
Yeah, there's a whole moment. So we used to do trivia every Monday with some friends, and it was The Simpsons themed, and it was something that I loved as a kid. You guys talk about movies, big movie nut. I love all the movie references built in. So we would play every Monday at this local dive bar, and we'd win every Monday. And the rule was all our winnings we could spend on beer the next week. We were allowed to spend it on food because we're college kids. So we go 1 week, and it's just two of us, and we have $50 to spend. And we can't drink that much Natty Light, so give us the most expensive beers you have, whatever they are. And it was Samuel Smith Oatmeal Stout, and that is the beer that changed my life. That really is. So I remember having it, and it was just, wow, this is not fizzy yellow water. It is flavorful. It is roasty. It is chocolate. It is everything I thought I didn't know beer could be. And I had to learn from that moment.
Cool. So you guys both basically you did not set out to do what you're doing right now. It was like, in your case, Jason, is you could call it a hobby. Maybe it started out as a hobby, maybe, and then it got to.
Yeah. And that's where the name Second Self comes from. Ultimately, this was, I went to corporate America after college, and I just continued brewing on weekends as an outlet. And I would have all my friends over, and I'd make I'd make family meals for them so we can drink and eat all day. And the second self became kind of it was a joke, it was my alter ego, it was me hosting people on the weekends. And that's where the name comes from, is that.
I saw on the webpage from Second Self, there's a little video clip about you and your partner explaining basically what Second Self means, and I found it to be kind of inspiring. That looking at your second self or your alter ego, as you call it, like that part of you that has a dream and wants to achieve it. Like I could identify, because I also have right now we both have our office jobs. Our 9 to 5s, and this is our second. Doing the podcast, interviewing people, this is our second self. So,
and for me, part of our mission is to help others achieve that goal. So, if I met Luis because he made great food and he wanted to get some beer for his pop-up. I wanted to help, so I gave beer for a pop-up. I mean, that's just a small sample of things that we do. But I'm lucky enough to be living my dream, and I want to be a catalyst for helping others live theirs.
Were you always a big beer guy, or was that something that came after?
I've always been a fan of. Man, I'm Puerto Rican. I love drink. I love to, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's like one of those things that you like hate and love about, at least for me being Puerto Rican, but I love to drink. Like, I love just sitting with people and just drinking and seeing where that goes and then seeing where that goes. I just love that whole thing. But I think that beer has been something that was essential growing up. That was the way that the older men around me would communicate mostly. And that's when they would mostly have adequate conversations and talks about life. And I would see them develop their expressions and their emotions. And then the next morning it would be like, that never happened. And then you're like, what's going on? So it was something that I've always loved. And then about 8 years ago, I started working at a brewery time, and I got involved in the beer world, and through that I launched a beer festival, and then it's called Dames and Dregs. It's celebrating the efforts that women have had in the beer industry since the beginning of time, because they brewed the first beer. They're the first distillers. They brewed the first beer, and through that I met Jason, because he had a female brewer at the time, and then we just connected. Meeting Jason first. Just being able to connect with somebody that is Latino was very different to me from working in a mostly white, business, right? And then I was like, man, I have this idea. And I remember we were talking at a beer tasting that I was doing for Dames and Dregs with another guy that owns a beer place called Hub City. And he's Puerto Rican. And that's when I told them of the beer. So I'm telling them when I was working, and I was like, Jason, I got this idea. And we were on the West End, and I was like, I have this idea. Would you do this? So Craig is like, oh man, this will be dope. And then here we are. So yeah.
Funny you mentioned Hub City, because one of my best friends, she's been living in Atlanta for like almost a decade now. And last year she got married. So I went to her wedding. First time I went to Atlanta, but I was there for like 3-4 days at most, not much the way I didn't have much time. So I couldn't visit as many breweries as I wanted to, but I did get a chance to go to Hop City. And funny story is that I'm with my wife looking for beers in the aisle. And my wife, what was it that she asked me? She asked something in Spanish, like where are some style of beer, something specific, like ¿Dónde están las IPAs? Or where's the IPA? But in Spanish. And then some employee, some dude that was just restocking.
This guy, Eddie.
Yeah.
Eddie Mulero. Yeah.
He was restocking the shelves, and out of nowhere he goes like, "Están en el pasillo acá," talking Spanish. We're like, "What?" And then I started talking with him, and we had some beers over there, and And then we didn't want to go to the wedding, but we had to go.
Eric and I actually worked together at Orcas. And then Eric volunteered at one of my abuela's pop-ups.
Okay.
So I mean, it's crazy. And now he works at Hop City. Our business is like beside Hop City. Like, it's not beside, but like it's close by.
Yeah.
So he stops by every morning. I want to tell him that we spoke about him on this thing.
Yeah, he actually was, when I was talking with him, he was actually asking me a lot about the breweries here in Puerto Rico, because he knew about some of them. And he also mentioned me that he was working at a brewery over there in Atlanta, but I forgot the name, and it's probably the one is the one you said right now.
Yeah, we worked there together. And then he stayed, and then it's just wild. But that's the community. That's what beer does. It builds this internal circle, right? That no matter where we go, if I went to Puerto Rico and just started talking to somebody, they might know something, and it's just like this beautiful inner circle of people that just connect worldwide.
Frank, let's get into the story about El Velorio, but since you haven't said anything, what do you think about the beer? Let's make you talk, man.
All right. Yeah, it's really good. You can really taste the chocolate and the coffee. What coffee did you guys use for the beer?
So we originally got coffee from Julian Coffee. It's from Puerto Rico. And we actually, my cousin owns a coffee roaster and operates out of our building. And so we've been replicating. He actually created a roast using several Central American blends to replicate that. We still buy some Puerto Rican coffee for it too, but because we need so much,
right.
We had to make a blend that mimic the taste.
And and the chocolate was Cortez, was it?
Cortez.
Chocolate?
Yeah.
All right, let's get into that. How did the idea come up to make this beer and use these ingredients that you guys ended up using?
I'll send that to Luis because he was the brainchild of it, and I'll talk about kind of how it went from idea to liquid.
And Velorio is really what it is awake, right? Like, it's connected to where Puerto Ricans sit around and talk through hot chocolate. Like, that's what I remember from the first time I went to Awake to the last time I went to Awake. Bochinchando con chocolate caliente, queso de bola, you put sharp cheddar in your hot chocolate. And it was this thing that my family always said, that when you're in Awake, people that you don't even know or you haven't seen your entire life will stop by just to get hot chocolate with galletas por soda. And then that's where it came from. After Maria being in the States and my entire family being in Puerto Rico, I just felt so disconnected. Even to this day, I still feel so disconnected because I go back and then I see the effects and the things that even haven't been touched or fixed. And as my family's there, I was thinking, like, what really made this so beautiful? And I think what it was the resilience of the people. And that's even in the can of art, like the artwork in the can, where people are like helping each other. And when you unite, even when somebody passes away, you get together to talk and maybe potentially throw some ideas or put something out in the universe that could shape a better tomorrow. And that's it. It's the resilience of the people of Puerto Rico. And, Puerto Rico did go through the biggest wave that they've experienced since I've been alive. So, and after that, some beautiful things have come through. So that's the whole idea about it.
Who did the artwork? Because it's the beautiful artwork. You have uncolored side with basically the los estragos de Maria, and then you have the heart in the middle with the Puerto Rican flag, and then you have color and baile, dance, people dancing, people waving the flags. You have el coquí, tiene el morro, you have el flamboyant, you have like all of these elements from our culture, and it's really beautiful. This artwork. Where did this come from?
Her name is Maite Nazario. And we found her on Instagram.
Yeah.
At that time, my sister and I worked together. And I met Maite at a Starbucks. She was 19 at the time. And immediately when I met her, she was in the same kind of like energy that I was, because I was like, I want to do something, but I don't know what to do. And she had all these ideas in her head. And initially, I wanted a coffin in the middle of the can with flowers growing around it. And everybody was like, nope. And then she was like, you know what? I have this better idea. I want the heart of Puerto Rico in color because it's alive, transitioning into what Puerto Rico is now. And the elements, we all came up with them. You know, we were talking about that it had to be as traditional Puerto Rican in time. My aunt wrote everything in the can is related to my family, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, like the parrot, my dad used to draw me a parrot when he was alive. El flamboyant were pictures that we would take when I was a little kid. La Cotorra, my aunt wrote a book called Pepa Coquí. Like she also has a Coquí book that she writes in Puerto Rico. I mean, all of it. Humacao is on the left-hand side. That's where my mom lives. Y mi sobrina viven en Las Piedras.
Okay.
So that side is from that. I mean, everything about it was really moments that we kind of took and jumbled it together.
Nice. Okay, there's funny thing about wakes, and I don't know if in the States you have a saying similar, but here in Puerto Rico, they always say that the only time that you see your whole family, like everyone, I have aunts that I only see them in wakes. It's only like great aunts that you only see them at wakes. Not even for weddings they show up.
and like, you know, growing up in a bicultural family, it is more of a Latin thing. Like that's any kind of funeral on my dad's side, we all threw giant big parties, got together, and I saw people I'd never seen before, and I still have not seen again. But we all, you know, share in the memory of the person that we've lost and celebrate it. Yeah.
Another thing that when I first saw the artwork for the can and the name was very I was curious about the name, and it reminded me of, there's a popular piece of art from Francisco Yele, a painter from a Puerto Rican painter from like old times, you know, like back in the day, and he has this really famous piece that it's basically a Puerto Rican wake back in the 50s, when there was people was really poor in the island, so the wakes were held at the home of the people. So it's this it's a really beautiful painting, because it's like this wooden shack, the inside of a wooden shack, and there's all these people and dogs running around, and it's a whole like the unit that what you were mentioning, like a lot of people, everybody's united, everybody's there, but it's a wake, but it doesn't seem like it's sad, you know, because everybody's together, you know.
Yeah.
So,
the stories live on, the family, the tradition lives on. That's the big part of it.
And that's the resilience of people in Puerto Rico, man. Like I was there in January. We started this year with the earthquakes. And I was in Juana Díaz cuando eso pasó, the first terremoto. I was in Guánica on December 28th. And then estaba en Juana Díaz con mi familia when they happened in January. And the way that people just fucking activated. They didn't like hear people just lock themselves up. The way that it just activated people, and like bringing bags of ice and asking people like, do you want food? Or man, it's just like this beautiful like heart, like, I don't know. It's beautiful. It's just the magic that lives in the people of Puerto Rico. I think so. I know so.
So Jason, what about once you get the concept of the beer, how do you make it into, how do you get all right. So you got the idea of the chocolate. So I guess that's how do you, I guess what I'm trying to say is how do you end up in a stout?
Sure. Yeah. And you know, this is some of my favorite work, creating beers like this. So, you know, a lot of the beers that I created, they come from, you know, a dish I had that I want to recreate. So you have to think about all the elements of the coffee chocolate combo, and a beer. So, you know, it has a thick body, you know, so you can't just have like a real thin drink in there. So it has to have that weight to it. it has like a slickness from the oil and the chocolate. So you got to recreate that. There's an earthiness from the coffee, an undertone there. So you think about all these different things, and then there's with brewing, there's like 100 different levers you can pull to do all these things. So what we did, we sat down with our brewing team, and Luis actually came by and made this for the brewing team, and we all had it. I'd had this before, but for them, it was the first time they'd ever experienced the hot chocolate, coffee hot chocolate combo. So it was just a new flavor for them. So it was, so I worked with them closely to do it. We settled on the Imperial Porter because you want that higher weight. I didn't want a stout because the stout's going to be a little bit more bitter, and it needed to be sweeter because that's an element. A key element is that sugar. So the porter lends itself to having a sweeter base. We're using a combination of what's called toffee malt, and then chocolate malt, some debittered black, again, to cut down on bitterness, and then it's a standard like 2-row. So what that does is just enables to have a lot of residual sugars in the beer, and then we add Cortez chocolate, and that adds a really different element for us because Cortez chocolate is real sweet and it has a lot of sugar in it.
Oh, yeah.
So we have to take that into all of our calculations because sugar actually makes your body thinner because it completely ferments out to alcohol, which makes everything thinner. So we had to even make a thicker porter than we would normally make to counteract the sugar that's in Cortez. So that's the technical side of everything. And we did about 4 or 5 test batches to get this to where it is, and a lot of it was just like getting the sweetness, more body, because it's hard to replicate that.
This beer did not come out the first time this year. It has been
No, this was our 5th anniversary beer, which was October 2019. So we threw a huge party with Luis and all of our families and everything, and we relaunched it then. And our art on other beers is a vertical split. So actually, that was a big key element that it really works because we have typically it's black, white on the right side. This is the white on the left side. So it tells a story more than a normal beer. But everything just came together and it just works so well.
And how do you get Cortez? Was it easy to find Cortez over there in the States? Like, is it everywhere?
No, it's not. So the first time we brewed this, I probably drove like 100 plus miles to every Latin grocery store I could get to because I had to buy 50 bars of chocolate. And so everyone, they'd have like 5 or 10. So, but now we actually, Goya distributes Cortez here in the States. So now I have a rep with Goya and I can just order cases of it. So it's now that we're making more of it, it's different. But that first one was a lot of fun because we're running all around Georgia trying to find it.
And something important is that there's no lactose at all in that beer.
No, yeah. So that was a big thing too.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, there's no lactose. It's completely
a vegan. Yeah, we're a vegan brewery. I also just don't like lactose in beer. I think it can be used appropriately, but modern brewing, a lot of people are using it inappropriately, in my opinion. So to create that body and that sweetness without lactose was a big challenge, and that was lots of different malts. And again, like having to counteract everything. So,
the use of Chocolate Cortez in the beer makes so much sense because obviously, as we mentioned, here in Puerto Rico, the hot chocolate is a staple of the funeral homes, of the wakes, and also my abuela's food. I don't remember having a bar of Chocolate Cortez in my mom's house, but in my abuela's house, there was always a bar, and it was always in the fridge. And I remember when little trying to break a piece of that and bite it. That shit was hard. You could leave your teeth stuck there. That was hard when you get it in the fridge.
I've always been a fat kid. I've always been fat my entire life. And I would like go into my grandma's kitchen, and when people were like in their bedrooms or when they were not watching, I would open the fridge, try to take a bite, put it back in the foil, the fridge. I mean, since I was a little kid. Yeah.
It's funny. It's you know, my grandmother made me hot chocolate when I was a kid, and a flavor I had not had in a long time. And when I got the bar Cortez from Luis, it brought me back to when I was like 5 years old. Because I mean, my grandmother passed when I was young, so but it just brought back like a wave of memories and flavors because she used it too. I talked to my grandfather and he confirmed, but yeah.
That chocolate has a really peculiar taste. I mean, it's still milk chocolate, but I don't know what it is. If
you eat it on its own, it's grainy because there's just so much in it. But it's perfect. You just put it on the small pot, put the chocolate in, the milk just sits there. It's ready when it's ready.
And the taste of that chocolate is so peculiar that you can feel it through the beer. It stays like you know, it's not like any other chocolate stout or porter, because it has that taste from the Cortez chocolate that distinguishes from other chocolates. It's really,
I think it's the key differentiator. And the other thing we had to work on was because there's so much oil in it, it actually takes away the head retention. So the very first batch, it was a little flat. I mean, but now, I mean, you actually commented at the beginning of the show how it had a nice creamy head. Yeah. So we had to change our processes on carbonation and other things for this beer because of that.
Cool, man. Yeah. I really like the beer, man. And I immediately went into your webpage, and I saw that this is not the only beer that you guys have made that are either collaborations with my abuelas or that are Latin inspired. Because I saw one over there that was La Fría.
Mm-hmm.
Is that another collaboration with Luis?
It is, yeah.
That one's dropping in Puerto Rico actually probably in December. That one's our new baby, and then that one came out this summer. It was supposed to come out in April, but due to the whole like pandemic.
Those are COVID baby we had.
Yeah, La Fría is our new beer. It's yeah.
What's the story behind that one? What's up with that?
You know, La Fría is that story that I was telling you growing up. You know, when you're sitting around with your older adults, like dame una fría or una cerveza, that's where it came from. Yeah. We don't have something that resembled Medalla here, which is just like a light, crisp, nice lager that you can drink. That's not just something domestic, right? So we wanted to create something that was a little bit better than what you can find. Because Medalla is actually a great beer. I think Medalla is a fantastic beer. And anywho, La Fría came about through that. It's our new child.
What style of beer is it, Jason?
I mean, it's Caribbean lager. So, you know, it's super simple lager. 2-row barley, a little bit of caramel malt and rice to lighten the body. And it's actually, while COVID was, has its own thing, but it gave us time to really work on lagers. This is our first lager. We haven't made one in 6 years. So when we shut down in March, I just told our brewers, well, you have time, so make this lager perfect when we open again. So we made 4 different versions of it, and we dumped 3, and then La Fría was the 4th. So it's great. I mean, it's super crisp, clean, the most refreshing beer we've ever made. And I'll throw it in the freezer for 10 minutes right before I drink it, so it's just like hard cold, like nice. Yeah, it's great.
I was gonna I just saw it right now. I already forgot. Yeah, I was gonna ask about, you guys mentioned it a couple of times now. We've mentioned the pandemic. Here in Puerto Rico, they've put some restrictions from the side of the government because of the pandemic. And at least here, what we've seen is that some of the businesses that have been most affected are businesses like yours, restaurants, bars, breweries. So I don't know the restrictions that have been put in place in Atlanta, but how rough has been the challenge, for you guys during this whole ordeal?
It's rough. I mean, running a brewery isn't easy on a normal year, and it was real hard this year. So, we lost 40% of our distribution out of the gate for all the bars that closed down. We're still down 50% at our brewery itself, which is our main profit center. So we're getting by because we're creative, and we make our beer, other people's beer. We make some soda and other things too. So we diversified a lot, and that's how we managed. I'm a hustler, man. I will make whatever. And we make it really well. So so it's been hard. And Luis, I mean, I can't imagine opening a restaurant 14 days before we close, because in March we shut down for almost 2 months, and we slowly opened up, but it's been like slowly opening, slowly closing, slowly opening. It's just been this back and forth. You can't plan for anything.
Yeah, it's the same here.
Yeah, it's you're just getting kicked in the balls.
Yeah, that's a funny thing. I at least here in Puerto Rico, that it surprised me is that even during the pandemic and during the whole lockdown, like a couple of new breweries started popping up anyway. We're already set. Let's open. We have to.
What are you gonna do now? I mean, you have a rent to pay. You have product going to waste. You have to open. You gotta.
I mean, for us, it was, it took us a year of building that last year. So, I mean, once you're that close, there's no way out. I mean, you have to just go. You have to keep going.
Yeah.
You can't turn around 3 months before opening because you've already spent all this money.
Yeah. There was some friends of ours, the guys from Cold Blood Brewery. They were set to open in March, I think, and they announced the lockdown for starting the same week that they were going to open, and they had ordered all this merch, glasses with the name engraved, everything for the big opening, and they had to postpone it like a month or a month and a half. So when they finally opened, they opened only curbside pickup, and they ended up scratching the concept that they had of a brew pub. So forget the tables and the shares that they were gonna have. Let's buy more brewing equipment and fill it up with more, because they're really small, a small batch brewery, really small. So cool. They the first couple of weekends, the first month it went really well. So they said, let's invest the money on more tanks and amp up the production. We're not using the space to accommodate people anyway, so it makes sense,
Why not?
Yeah.
So Luis mentioned that La Fria might be is set to come to Puerto Rico. Are there any other beers that you can say or that you know of from Second Self that might make their way over here to Puerto Rico?
Yeah, I mean, our goal is to get almost the whole lineup here. I know La Fria's on the next order with more Velorio, and then we have a guava sour called Havana Night that we're going to have out in the spring.
Sours are still in, and now in Puerto Rico we're receiving more sours than before. I mean, like 5-6 years ago when the whole trend started, you couldn't get a sour here in Puerto Rico. But now since everybody's doing it, we're getting a lot of sours.
Awesome. Yeah, again, based on my kind of Cuban heritage, I love guava, and so that was our first kind of big sour. We got we won a couple national awards for it, so we're real proud to bring it down to Puerto Rico.
Nice. You ever made a Mojito inspired beer?
It's actually funny. We actually make a line of CBD seltzers.
Yeah, that's when I think of a Mojito. That's what I thought. Like, I think a seltzer would be better for a Mojito.
I've been playing around with that. So either a hard seltzer or a CBD seltzer with the lime and mint flavor. Mint is so hard to replicate for brewing, because you got to think like fresh mint versus cooked mint, vastly different on taste. And to get that fresh mint flavor, you really have to use a lot of extracts or artificial ingredients, which is it's against our ethos at the brewery. So, but when you have a seltzer, it's much easier since you're not fighting malt or hops or anything else. It's just that flavor, so it's much easier.
Frank, you remember that one of the few homebrews that we've made, all of them turned out awful. Anyway, just to be clear, all 5 of the homebrews that we've made, all 5 batches turned out awful.
We're consistent that way, yeah.
But do you remember that we tried to do a saison with adding mint leaves, and they did nothing?
You have to add so much mint. So much mint to make it work. The other way you can do it is making a syrup. So sugar will pull out a lot more of the flavor. So if you pre make a syrup, then it absorbs much easier.
So as everybody knows, we here in the podcast, we always talk about beers and movies. And I think that we can transition. It's about time to transition into the movies. And I was inspired by El Velorio. I started thinking about like memorable movie scenes that have to do with funerals or wakes. Do you have? Can I go first?
No, please. I need time to think about it.
Because my favorite one, it's pretty. I think everybody has seen that movie, and I don't want anyone to steal it from me. I want to mention it. Old school. Will Ferrell singing "Dust in the Wind." You're my boy, Blue.
I didn't even think about that one. That's good. Yeah. Because I was thinking about maybe like the actual theme of the movie would have been a funeral. So I thought of have you guys seen Death at a Funeral?
Yeah.
There's 2 versions, I think, right? There's like a British version and then an American version. I only saw the American version with Chris Rock and
with Colin Firth. Isn't he in that one?
Colin Firth. Maybe.
No, he's not in the British version. Actually,
no, he's the American version, right?
He's in the American version. I don't know.
Isn't he?
But because the American version is almost an all black cast, and it's an amazing cast because they got
Tracy Morgan, Chris Rock, Danny Glover.
No,
Regina Hall. Like
I've seen the British one. Then I've not seen that one. I need to watch that one.
Yeah, it's more or less the same. Actually, I've seen them both, and the American version is basically a shot by shot remake. Like all the bits are the same. Actually, Peter Dinklage is in both of them playing the same character. It's like is there not any other short actor that could have played the part? Come on, he's got a monopoly on those kind of characters. What's up with that?
He's a versatile actor.
You guys come up with.
I mean, the one that just pops in my head obviously is 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Not really a favorite movie of mine, but it's it's kind of an obvious choice.
Yeah.
But a more unique version. I love the old school one.
There's another one that it's really, this is maybe a deep cut. It's a James Bond movie. And I didn't know this until I started looking in the internet for like memorable scenes and then I remembered like Live and Let Die, I believe starts.
Yeah, that's right. The New Orleans wake.
Yeah.
I mean, that's perfect. So they take the coffin down Bourbon Street with a whole jazz ensemble.
Yeah, and then
also James Bond, you only live twice. He actually dies, and there's a small funeral for James Bond.
Yeah.
Wedding Crashers, because you took mine. I was going to say.
Yeah, that's right.
Wedding Crashers or The Big Lebowski. I'll probably say those.
Big Lebowski. The Folgers can.
But Wedding Crashers.
Yeah, Wedding Crashers. He became he he got tired of crashing weddings, so he started crashing funerals.
Right.
That's
I remember
great.
Will Ferrell was the funeral crasher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had one that I thought of that would have been a perfect, I think, a perfect segue into holiday movies, since we're in that time of year. Because there's this really emotional funeral scene in this rom-com, Love Actually.
Yeah.
When
yeah.
when Liam Neeson's character, his wife died, and his son, his stepson, is right there, and he's just saying goodbye to his wife, and then what they do is just they put on a video with some music that she really liked, and it was a song, really upbeat song, and it's really moving. But Love Actually is actually a Christmas movie, isn't it?
People love Love Actually.
It's a Christmas movie. It's up there with Die Hard, Gremlins, classic.
Luis, you don't love Love Actually? You actually don't love Love Actually? That's a tongue twister.
No. No. And I've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
I still can't like it.
Really?
No.
I do like it.
I mean, the rest of the world likes it. I think I just don't like it.
It's one of those movies, like, I will not sit and watch, like, I'm going to watch Love Actually, but if it's on, I'll put it on in the background and I'll just do other things.
Yeah. It's that kind of movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you can come in and out and it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised you like it, Carlos, because that's not your kind of movie. You said it's way different. You used to.
What I like good rom-coms. Good rom-coms.
What's a good rom-com?
Love Actually.
That's the one. That's the only one.
I have a really this is a big guilty pleasure of mine. 10 Things I Hate About You. I love that movie. I don't know why.
I love that movie. Actually, me and some friends, we did a Netflix party. We just watched Harry Met Sally, and I haven't seen that in a long time. That's a classic.
Yeah, that's a classic.
So I thought of one more funeral one before we keep going down this, but Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Oh, of course.
Nice.
Spock
dies. You send him out into space.
Yeah.
Harold and Maude funeral scene.
What?
Harold and Maude?
I didn't understand.
Harold the movie, Harold and Maude.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen
You've
that
never
one.
seen Harold and Maude?
No, I know it. I've never seen it. Yeah.
You've never seen Harold and Maude? No? Okay.
No.
You guys all have to watch it.
We'll do.
Okay.
It's such a good movie, and the soundtrack is made by Cat Stevens. The whole thing is great.
Oh.
Yeah. The whole thing. Yeah.
But Luis already mentioned what I consider the best Christmas movie ever, which is Die Hard. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's by far. Yeah. We threw a Die Hard Christmas party last year, and we had every few months we have an art show, and the artist who does most of our beer labels puts it on, and so we had a call for art. So we had an entire brewery of Die Hard Christmas art, and it was beautiful. I loved it.
Frank, do you have a favorite Christmas movie?
So I have like a list of movies I like to watch every year, and Die Hard's obviously in there. But I also like the Shane Black movies are always on Christmas, like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, or Lethal Weapon. I mean, they're not
even
really
Iron Man 3s at Christmas.
Right. They're all in Christmas. I mean, the theme about the plot is not about Christmas, but it counts. It's during Christmas. Yeah. There's holiday songs in there and somewhat. So I don't know, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. With a Weapon, any of the movies. Harry Potter, I count as Christmas movies.
But it isn't, though.
There's always Christmas at Harry Potter, and they always came out at Christmas. So we saw a movie every Christmas as a family, and like we saw all the Harry Potters together with my family.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a Christmas movie.
They always came out at Christmas, and they always have a Christmas scene because
course.
The movie covers a whole school year,
Right.
and I think you could see it as a Christmas movie because of the music, because the score from that movie has those band bells that sound really Christmassy. Luis, do you have a favorite Christmas movie?
Home Alone. Yeah, I mean, that motherfucking movie is dope.
I've already watched 1 and 2 already. I mean,
That shit is, I mean, that's a staple, right? I watch cheesy movies during Christmas. When I tell you I want cheesiest movies to watch. But you know, like Elf, Bad Santa, all those movies are really funny.
That's the best one, Elf. Absolutely.
Elf is genius. I don't know. And then I watch shit like Jingle All the Way. I sort of like.
That's fucking great. I love it.
Wait, Frank, are you saying that's terrible or that's great?
No, I love it. I love it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's so good.
It's not a good movie, but I love it.
Oh no, it's terrible, but it's great.
And then I don't know, like I remember like in Beethoven, Curly Sue, Miss Doubtfire. I consider those like Christmas movies for some reason. Just because we used to watch them in the holidays. It's just something that we watch.
Not any Christmas element to Mrs. Doubtfire at all. But
But I guess Frank and I were talking about this last night. Was it that if you take out, like in the case of Die Hard and A Beautiful Life and many movies, if you take when the main theme is not Christmas, you can take out the elements that have to do with Christmas and you can tell the story any time of the year, actually. But because what makes a movie feel like, because I understand what Liz is saying about Mrs. Doubtfire, and I think it is because of this, because what makes a Christmas movie is the theme of family, sharing, and goodwill.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be Christmas to do that. Come on.
And same with Love Actually. They've tried to make that Valentine's Day, New Year's Day, all those other movies, same production staff, doesn't work because it's not the same.
That's actually a good point. Those are even worse than Love Actually.
Oh, absolutely. And because they're not heartwarming. They're just the same thing, but a different day.
Yeah. You're actually right. Plus, I think Love Actually's cast is far superior than the cast from the
it was great, and it was the first. So they didn't know what they had until they had it.
Yeah.
You guys really like this movie, don't you?
Actually, 4 minutes of this podcast has been talking about this movie. I don't understand.
Are you watching it as you're doing this podcast? Is it?
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Is it projecting on a wall? Don't
It's funny. I did a parody video last year for us, and I watched it like twice because I had to get like the cards, like that whole scene.
Oh,
we did that at the brewery. It was fun.
Funny thing that in that movie, like everybody shows up from every series, franchise, every nerd loves. Like there's people from Doctor Who, from Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, everything. Like it's absurd. So we always throw out this question in the podcast, and and it's fun because we don't know what any of us last watched. So what was the movie that you last watched from beginning to end? And
don't cheat. If it sucked, if you're ashamed, don't worry. Just say it. It doesn't matter.
Home Alone. I watched it yesterday.
Man, we watched this long ass movie. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Give me a second. It was so fucking long. It was so long.
Was it The Irishman? That's like 3 days long.
Yeah. It was like 2.5 hours long. It was so long. God damn it.
What was it about?
But movies are that long all the time now.
Fuck.
What was it about?
If I told you, I'd be lying.
Who was in it? Like
I just completely blanked out. I sort of like.
This happened with a friend of ours a couple of weeks ago.
That's right. We watched.
Wait, was it? It was Love Actually. It was definitely Love Actually, wasn't it?
And I'm still crying from Love Actually. No, I can tell you that before we watched this long ass movie, which I'll remember. I promise I'll remember at some point. We watched There's Something About Mary.
Oh,
That's a good one too.
that's a good one. I haven't watched that movie in years. I have
It's
to.
been a long time.
It's still
Hold up.
epic. It's still epic. Now it will never be able to come out now, ever.
No.
I get that. Yeah.
No. I'm gonna figure out the name of this long movie.
Frank, what was the last movie you watched?
Right, I'll go. So I watched this new Netflix movie called Mank.
Is it out already?
It came out yesterday, I think.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I saw the trailer for it.
Right. So David Fincher directed it. It's about the screenwriter for the movie Citizen Kane. It's if you like that kind of stuff, like a history of Hollywood, old school Hollywood, it's really interesting. It's all black and white. It's all about the life of the screenwriter, how he wrote Citizen Kane. It stars Gary Oldman.
Yep.
It's really good. Actually, the father of David Fincher wrote the screenplay for this movie back in the 90s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, David Fincher was going to do that movie in the 90s, but apparently since he wanted to make this movie in black and white, the studios didn't want to do that, and so it took this long for them to make it. And originally he wanted to use Kevin Spacey as
I thought you were going to say that he was going to do it in the 90s, but Brad Pitt didn't want to. Because he did 2 movies with him in the 90s.
He couldn't eat the entire time. He can't use Brad Pitt.
So anyway, check it out. It is 2.5 hours long. So maybe that's the one you watched, Luis.
I think it was. I just asked because I had to ask. Jingle Jangle on Netflix.
Oh, that's another Christmas movie.
Yeah. I haven't seen that.
It's that bad?
It was so long. Actually, the sad thing is, it was beautiful. I've never seen a Christmas movie based on a black family on TV. So
Okay.
I think like it was amazing. Ricky Martin does a voice for like a character.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's animated. It's an animated movie?
He's like a toy, but it's not animated.
Okay.
It was just really long, man, and you just lost. Like it just loses it.
There's something about like those heartwarming.
So long.
They shouldn't be that long. They should just be like 90, 100 minutes. Like
It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's a long time for like a
musical. Yeah, it's too long.
Yeah.
The last movie I watched.
Carlos, what was your last movie?
Right.
I watched this indie film that is on Netflix. That it's a sci-fi thriller that I don't think many people have seen it, and it's called Circle. And it's really interesting movie, man. It's 50 people inside a room. They can't move. They can't do anything. Every 2 minutes, one of them dies. So they have to figure out who survives. At the end, only one of them has to survive. So everything takes place in this dark room. Most of the actors are unknown, but the real, like, where the movie shines is the whole social discussion that ensues during this decision making about who gets to live. So you can see everything gets touched: the race, sexuality, gender, age, every kind of social. Forget the word. No me sale ahora. Ni en español ni en English. I can't find the word neither in Spanish nor English. Discrimen, todo este tipo de discrimination. Yeah, every kind of discrimination gets explored in the dialogue of all these 50 characters as every 2 minutes one of them falls off. And the thing is that they have a say in who gets to die, who gets to live. So it's really interesting. You even get at a point when you can see sides, like very politically, a little bit like a theme, a political theme. You can see how it's basically how the human mind, I think, works, and all this prejudice and discrimination. It's really interesting, you know. Some people like from what I was, then I started reading some reviews, and some people loved it. Some people hated it. They didn't like the ending, but I think that the journey is worth it. You know, seeing all this exploration of how awful we can be.
Is it dramatic, like a horror movie, or?
It's not horror. It's not horror. It's really simple. That's the interesting thing about the movie. Everything takes place in this dark room where 50 people are in a circle. They're standing in a circle and they cannot move. Each one of them is stepping on a circle, small circle, and they are all forming like 3 rows of circles, and they cannot move from there. And there's this thing in the middle that every 2 minutes shoots a beam at someone. It's really interesting, you know. The small indie movie, sci-fi movie that saw on Netflix from 2015, I believe.
I'll check it out. Yeah,
Add it to the list. Cool.
Dystopian type thing.
I don't want to. I don't want to tell you what.
That sounds interesting and up my alley.
All right. What else do we got for today, Frank? Do we have anything else?
We talked beers. We talked movies. One thing I wanted to ask you about the brewery. You guys seem to like to experiment and diversify, but do you have like a particular style that you guys like to make, or like a signature beer like that represents the brewery?
Like, yeah, I mean, our top selling beer is Thai wheat. So it's a ginger, lemongrass, and galangal wheat. Inspired by a trip I took in Thailand in 2010, and I wanted to kind of recreate flavors I had there. So that's our top seller. It's a good showcase of what we can do because we're using all natural ingredients. We're using the actual ginger root and everything. But, you know, like everyone, we make IPAs and sours and pale ales and all sorts of stuff. So we have 4 year-round beers, about 10 different seasonals throughout the year, and then we have a whole slew of barrel-aged things that we release throughout the year too.
Cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned before that I think you mentioned something that like what inspires you, something that inspires you for the beer making process and how to come up with ideas for beers is food, is right? Dishes, things you've tried. Are there any other like beers that you can mention that are someone like that?
Yeah. So, you know, actually speaking of Christmas, when I was a kid, we made mole sauce at Christmas time. How a Cuban who had an Italian restaurant made mole sauce, I have no idea. I think honestly it's because it was free labor and it kept my brother and I busy an entire day because we were home from school. Now I look back, but it's really my family's recipe that we used for years, and then kind of similar with El Velorio. You know, what is it? It's these raisin and chocolate and cinnamon and cocoa and cloves. So it's just taking all in chili. So it's taking that combination and making that beer into that. So it's a chocolate porter with 3 different chilies, cinnamon, clove, and dark chocolate.
Sounds interesting. Is that like a seasonal, for Christmas?
Yeah, so it comes out. It's kind of our fall winter seasonal. So it comes out in October and sticks around till about probably about March. That's when it starts getting warm here in March. So
cool.
And then Havana Night picks up after that, after mole. So.
Nice. I think, Frank, do you have anything else, movie regarding, are there any news or something that's happened this?
I don't know if you guys heard, with the pandemic and everything, some movies that are now coming on to streaming directly, like the one I mentioned, Mank. I read the other day, Warner Brothers intends to show all their 2021 movies on HBO Max. So that's interesting. I mean, that what will happen to the theaters if all the movies are going to go straight to streaming? I mean, how can they survive? And if Disney does the same thing, I don't know. It's interesting to think about that.
Yeah, and to use a Spaceballs quote, we're at now. So people come out, and then they come out in theater, they come out streaming. And it's interesting how the HBO Max, it's not extra because Disney did Mulan for $30.
Yeah, that was
subscriber, but HBO Max, you have to be a subscriber and you get it. When Wonder Woman's coming out Christmas Day and everything for next year, I think it's going to hurt theaters. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be releasing them in the theaters and on HBO Max to see.
Right. On the plus side, I'm going to see a lot more new movies because that makes it super easy. I would even pay extra. Like I'd pay HBO Max Plus or something if it got me the new movies. And because my fear is that we won't get bigger budget movies if they're not making as much money.
Oh, for sure. We're not going to see $200 million budget movies anymore.
Yeah.
Do you guys like watching, like, for example, these movies that are coming out on streaming and not in theater? Do you guys pay for those movies? I can't pay for them. It's not the same. It's not the same experience.
We chipped in for Mulan. We paid the $30, but it's that was a failed experiment on Disney's part. People are not willing to pay that much money for a movie. It's too much.
Yeah.
And Mulan comes out this month on Disney Plus for free.
It's already out.
It's already out.
I watched it for free, and that's the thing. Like, there's all these movies that are coming into rent, and then they go into free streaming. But it's just not worth it because the experience in the movie theater is like the big screen and the surround sound, and I can't even see myself paying like $12.99. Like it's just
I already have HBO Max, so like it's great.
Yeah.
For me. That's what I'm saying. But it like the movie Tenet. I didn't see Tenet this year. I really wanted to see Tenet. The Christopher Nolan movie.
Really good.
Yeah, but there was no theater. Well, I mean, I didn't really want to go to a theater. That's what it came down to. But I want to see it in IMAX. I want to see it like in this huge experience that we can have. But
that's my worry. That's my thing with Dune.
Oh yeah, Dune.
So you're telling me that Dune is going to be on HBO Max, but I don't want to watch it on my TV. I want to watch it on the theater with the big screen, like big sound, and if we're still with the restrictions that we're having right now, that means that the theater is going to be almost empty. So that's perfect. I think it's better. It's a better experience than before COVID going to a theater because there's almost no one there. So you don't have anyone in the back of your seat chewing loudly or people laughing when they shouldn't be, taking you out of the movie.
Yeah, I'm always someone who I never go opening weekend because I hate dealing with all that stuff. I always wait. But I'm a huge Bond fan, so it was supposed to come out on my birthday this year, and then it was moved to December. Now it's next year. I just want that movie because it's
they're shopping it around.
They're asking for like $600 million for the rights to stream it for like a year or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And if South Park can get $500 million, and so can a Bond movie.
Did you guys know they eliminated the free trials for the streaming services like HBO Max when they announced the 2021 movies thing? They don't have any more free trials.
Oh, really?
So no getting a free trial to watch Wonder Woman and then signing out. No.
So I thought there was still a free trial, but the new movies you couldn't get during your free trial. Kind of like Disney Plus for Hamilton. You had to be a paid subscriber to watch Hamilton.
Oh.
Okay. Well, that's okay. That works too. Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Because otherwise they're not going to make any money at all for these movies.
No.
Yeah, because that's the idea, right? In order to make money off these movies, that are already produced, already done, and packaged up, they would need new subscribers.
Yeah, and I think it's a push to get HBO Max on Roku because it's still not on there, and that's still like 40% of the consumers use Roku. So they're just trying to get pay Roku less money.
Actually, that's one thing that when they announced that they would release Wonder Woman in HBO Max, I was talking with Frank and I said that this is probably tied with the fact that they closed the deal with Amazon Fire Stick. So it's probably a way to, hey, we have something new for you, all of you Amazon Fire Stick users, to come and subscribe to HBO Max. And I told Frank, like, whenever they close the deal with Roku, they're gonna do maybe in 2021 or something, they're gonna release another movie in HBO Max the same way. I was not expecting they would announce this. Like, all the movies are gonna go for HBO Max. That's
no, awesome. And I'm sure that's what this is. Is 2021? They're working on a deal with Roku.
Yeah, it's gonna happen eventually.
Yeah,
I can't wait for it to happen because I don't like casting it from the phone to the Chromecast. If
have it on the Chromecast, we wouldn't be able to watch it on the TV at all. It's too good.
The Apple TV, I use Apple TV. It works great.
Well, my TV is a Roku, so I have to use the Chromecast.
Yeah, I have a Roku TV, so I have to like AirPlay HBO Max on the TV.
Yeah,
I have a regular TV.
and the thing is, my biggest issue with that is that what I cast to the Chromecast, the Roku TV does not let me on that input to listen to the audio on my headphones. Because since I most of the time I watch movies late at night while my wife is always sleeping, so I put on the headphones so I don't disturb her. But I can't watch any HBO Max content during the night because I cannot use the headphones.
Do you have an audio out on your TV? You can probably use that.
I'll have to check. Yeah. Maybe that would solve it.
You can use your Bluetooth headsets. Because that's how I listen. I also watch movies at night for the same way, and that's what I do.
All right. So is there anything else? I don't think there's anything else. Is there?
I think we covered everything.
I think we covered everything and then some. With the whole HBO Max stuff.
Yeah.
It was great. And actually, I'm really looking forward to seeing more beers from Second Self, La Fria included, over here in the island. I read an article that the distributor that is distributing Second Self here for December was bringing more El Velorio, but I didn't see anything else. And I was like, kind of disappointed because I wanted to see more.
But that's hot off the press news. That was as of 2 days ago. We got that commitment. So we're going to be we're making the beer for Rincon too. So they're going to have some canned.
Actually, yeah. I saw Alberto Camacho was over there at Second Self right this week, and Jeremy.
Yeah, they both blew up. We brewed their beer this week. It'll be canned and it'll be on the same shipment down. So
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw the story on Instagram. Alberto he was our first guest ever when we started this podcast.
Oh, awesome. Super cool guy.
Yeah.
And same thing. Beer is a universal language. We had a great time. Went to a couple breweries here in town. Yeah.
¿Tú conoces? A question for you, Carlos. ¿Tú conoces a la gente de Los Ladrones, la banda?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
I saw that on Instagram. I saw it and I was like, this cannot be such a small world. I was like,
no sé quiénes son.
Okay.
I don't know who they are, but anyway, thank you for being here. Guys listening and watching the video, if you or listening to the podcast, share, subscribe, do all that things that everybody asks people who listens to podcasts to do. Actually, I don't care much. I'm gonna still make it. I'm gonna still keep making podcasts anyway. So. But it would
have to keep it going.
But it would help. It will help if you guys did that. Anyway, Luis, Jason, thank you for being here. This was a great talk, and best of luck to you guys, and much more success comes your way, hopefully. And we'll be here waiting for more beers from Second Self and to come here. And next time I go to Atlanta, visit my friend, I'll make sure to stop by.
Yeah, please do.
Once this COVID thing ends, we'll be sure you guys over there, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw your shirt. I was like, you've definitely gone to a few breweries.
Yeah.
At that time,
New Realm.
yeah. I got the chance to go to Scofflaw, New Realm, and the brew pub.
You drove right by us if you were right over there.
Really?
Yeah. We're like a mile from Scofflaw.
Which brew pub did you go to?
The one from Terrapin and the Brave Stadium.
Yeah. That was our first. We were their first collaboration. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Good guys.
Because Terrapin, we used to get Terrapin here in Puerto Rico, and I wanted, like, just because of nostalgia, like I always liked Terrapin beers, and we stopped getting them in Puerto Rico. So when I went there, I was like, I have to visit. But the brewery per se was too far out from the area where we're staying at, so we just decided to go to the Brave Stadium and visit the brew pub.
Honestly, I like the Brew Lab better than the Athens main location. They're making some awesome beers there. And based on
that, once we were there in the Brave Stadium, that's how what brewery is nearby that is open at this time? Okay. Yeah. Well, there's Scofflaw it is. It's about 15 minutes. Let's get on over. Let's get there. And like that, we moved around.
Yeah.
But as I said, we were like 3-4 days over there. So it was during the week also. So sometimes when we were looking for, there's one like 5 minutes. Oh, it's closed right now.
Well, you have my email. So let me know, or my phone. Just give me a call. Well, if we're closed, we'll open up for you. No problem.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, guys.
This is a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great night. Merry Christmas. Yeah.
Stop recording. Wait, ¿no puedo darle stop recording, Frank?
¿Por qué no?
Salud, cabrones.
Ya llegó el Coño Show, el Coño Show. Ya llegó el Coño Show, el Coño Show.